Paul Daner, Mark Shalafu, from listener questions to some running gags. Insider stories, ambush life, that dad life, and respect for flags. Kick off the weekend, alright? It's the Growler Friday Show. It's Dey Light.
Welcome into another episode of the Growler Podcast. This is Dey Light. I am Mark Shalafu, as always, with me, Paul Daner Jr. Paul, I can't tell you how excited I am to hear what flag you're flying. You're home, you're settled from the combine. What's the flag of choice today?
Well, we're into March, so it's St. Patrick's Day flag season. A little leprechaun and his pot of gold are out there right now staring at our street and reminding everybody it's not far off. St. Patrick's Day, another one of those that probably runs a little longer than it should in flag season, but that's all right. We support it here.
I'm underwhelmed. I am underwhelmed by this completely. You don't have the Lent flag out there or the March Madness flag. It is too early for St. Patrick's Day. It's not that great of a holiday.
The Lent flag, what is it? Like a fish sandwich?
Yeah, and a beer. You know, there's nothing better than those like fish fries around Cincy where you're just getting hammered in a church basement for, $3 drafts. That's a good time. You're supporting the church somehow, I guess. I don't know. It's like a church festival for the winter.
Sure. I do love to support all things church festival, but in this case, we just stick with the creepy leprechaun and all the green and off we go.
But it's going to be a fun week for us on this show.
Yeah.
I'm so psyched. But before we jump into next week, let's if you haven't listened to everything this week, shame on you, but you can get caught up. There've been some good episodes out there. I liked the stuff you did with the guys from the Gridiron Grading, and you and Charlie had a great show on Monday. Petey and Jay, the return of Jay Morrison. How great was that?
It was awesome.
What I loved most about that too was and we didn't tell anybody to do this. It's not like we orchestrated it, but just going through those YouTube comments on that episode and just seeing just dozens and dozens, and they were all about Jay. It wasn't like, Mo's takes today stunk. It was none of that stuff. It was just all love for Jay. And that's what you like to see, with this big return.
We'll get back to Mo's takes stinking soon enough, but
there's plenty of time to attack.
Plenty of time for that, and take a break from taking shots at me. I appreciate that. Great to have Jay back. It was awesome. It was just really comforting to be back in that mix again, and I certainly enjoyed it, and I'm glad that so many of you were as happy to have Jay back as I was, and so next week though, man, we're all the way back. It's straight into the fire. It is
Dey nights. Let's go.
Dey nights are back. That's right. 4 straight nights of walkouts. So at 8:00 every night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we are going live on the YouTube channel. You can hop into the live stream. We're going to be reacting to what has gone on that day with the Bengals. Pop on in. So make sure if you don't have the YouTube, if you're not following, go in there right now, ring the bell, get your notifications, all of that, because we'll be going live at 8:00 Monday through Thursday, reacting to everything that happened all day, or filling time talking about Charlie's eating habits and other things as we try to figure out how to explain away a team not doing anything for days at a time. But this year it won't be like that. It's not going to be like last year.
We're not going to be talking about how many forks Charlie has in his apartment this year, hopefully.
Hopefully, and maybe he's added forks and we can celebrate that. You know, there's a lot of different possibilities there, but it's going to be fun. We've got you covered for an hour every single night. We hope to have you guys pop in. Other people are going to be popping in from all over. So we never know who's going to be there. The crew, and we'll have others that will be showing up. And I'm excited about to see what develops. And we hope that you will too. And we'll be taking questions on those. And
we monitor the chat pretty well. Now, did we commit to a full hour for all of these shows? Is that what I heard you just say? Okay.
I'm willing to commit. I mean, you might have a night where something happens while we're there, and you guys can handle the show while I have to write a reaction piece, or I can just write. You can watch me write live, which is probably about as exciting as some of last year's shows when nothing happened is. But yeah, I think we have the ability to rock an hour. Why not?
Well, it was a little open-ended last year, so we could have some that were 40 minutes. Some might be over an hour. And
I think we can go until we run out of gas.
Okay.
And I feel like if we run out of gas at 40 minutes, then so be it.
Then we will
We
start
just
counting forks that Charlie's got.
Yeah.
Maybe he's got some cool spoons this year. Maybe he got a new plate he can tell us about, or some, Nickelodeon show that he's into.
Yeah, I look forward to all of that. But we also have to figure, I know last year, I believe it was Justin Simmons. If the Bengals signed Justin Simmons, Charlie was going to chug a beer live.
We've gotten so many emails about people wanting to know who's it going to be this year, who's the mystery player we got to wait for. And we should probably pick that right before free agency starts.
Here's what I think as we come up with this here while we're recording, is that each of us should have a chug a beer player. So if there's, and I think that can be somebody that you don't think that they'll sign. Maybe because I don't know what the influence behind it should be. Are we trying to hit the chug a beer, or if you get the right one hit, you can choose someone to chug a beer, so you don't have to do it yourself, or you could choose yourself out of celebration. Is that what we do?
I think it's a guy that you don't necessarily think that they're going to sign, but isn't impossible. So there's still a chance. And then you would chug it yourself. I feel it gets a little convoluted if we're like, my guy hit, so I'm making Charlie. The only fun thing about that would be if we all made Charlie chug multiple beers.
This is kind of where I'm going with this. Like, I feel like,
all right, you know what? You've won me over. This is, I like it. I don't think Charlie listens to this show, so he will be ambushed by this anyway. So that's what's important.
No, he's busy loading up takes for Power Stacks right now, but Charlie will be involved. I don't think he's going to be able to be in every show next week because the Reds have at least one night game next week, but that's okay. Charlie will be hopping in on some of those. Mo's going to hop in some. We'll all be in there, but we will know when he's going to be there, and so we can see if we can set it up where we make Charlie drink a beer.
What player would you pick? Like, I feel like it's got to be.
If I'm trying to hit, Chanel.
Yeah.
I think I'd go with I think Chanel would be my number one target, where I think is if you are picking the player they're most likely to sign, he just feels like too natural of a fit for what they want. And I think he'll be in a reasonable enough price range that they could attack that spot, make it happen, and boom.
I would love it. I want to see that happen while we're live on the air. And so he gets to do it day one. That's what we need to really start these shows off well, is Charlie slamming a beer. Bengals get the linebacker they need to stabilize that room. And then we're off to a good start.
Then you're off to a good start. Who's the one that you're going to pick for him?
It's tough because I wanted to go Minkah Fitzpatrick. I don't know that he qualifies just yet. So, probably I would go with JFM just since we've given him so much hype, and it sort of fits that mold of Justin Simmons being sort of a long shot last year, but still a player that could have made sense for them. And I would like to see that happen as well.
You would not be the only Bengals fan chugging a beer if they signed JFM. I can tell you that much. There would be many beers deleted, I'm guessing, in the greater Cincinnati area if that happens. That's for sure. It would be an aggressive move, and maybe they do it. Maybe this is the year they do it. It certainly would hit them in the right spot if they could make that happen. But
they got to get some juice. They got to get some firepower up there to replace Trey Hendrickson. And, it's sad. It's sad that we're not going to have Treys of our lives anymore. We're moving on. We're progressing, except for when he comes back to play in Cincinnati. But I will say this, before we jump to that, I did want to ask you this. So, right, with all the Trey Hendrickson drama that's been going on, and I say drama loosely because it's not. Everything that's gone on with Trey is kind of unfolded the way that we've talked about for months on this show. It wasn't any thought of like keeping him tag and trade, seemed like a long shot, even if on paper it seemed to make a lot of sense. But here's my question from it, right? Last offseason, Joe Burrow goes down his whole list of wants. Jamar is a need, T is a need, Mike G is a need, to the surprise of all of us. And Trey is a need. He was very vocal about that, right? And they kind of went step by step. This offseason, we don't get that whole list necessarily. We get Jamar and we get T going around and saying, oh, what about Max Crosby? What about Jeffrey Simmons? That's who we want. At no point were they like, oh, we got to keep Trey in the mix. We haven't heard that anywhere. Trent McDuffie gets traded this week. Right away, Patrick Mahomes is dropping the damn on social media. It didn't feel like, we got any of that shock or surprise or desire for him to like stick around. So what should I read into that?
Whatever you want to read into that.
Everyone's tired of Trey Hendrickson, and they didn't.
I
want
think
him.
it
We
was
didn't
just
want him to stick
time. It was
around.
for the best of everyone. I think that they move on is what that is. It's just Trey was over it. The Bengals were over it. I think all his teammates were over it. The fighting, because it ended up hurting the team, and that's the one thing that everybody's just over. Yeah, it makes sense. Trey's a good player. And if that would have worked out, it maybe everybody feels differently about it now, and it's louder. I just think it was just clearly beyond time to start over in regards to that money and that spot and the distribution of how that room is put together and how the defense is put together. And so for that fact, I just think it was just everybody was just kind of in recognizing that it's time and probably past time.
So do you think he's been telling guys that he's not coming back? Because in so many of these
Trey?
contract issues, so many of these other contract issues, all the guys in the locker room seem to take the player's side. They're like, yeah, we know how it is dealing with this front office. Go get your money, go take care of your business. And, in this case, if they are getting tired of all of his antics and stuff and kind of the, constant battles on that front, it's a little bit of a different tune.
Yeah, everybody knew. Everybody knew that this was where this was going to go. This was going to end. He didn't want to play here anymore, and the Bengals were not going to really want to have him back, and that was that. And I think that has been known in the case for a long time, and really was known before it was known when he signed that deal.
Yeah,
when he signed the raise to just get more money for 1 year, I think everybody saw this, that they just hoped he would come and ball out for a year and then leave. It didn't work out that way, but that, I think it's just the writing has so long been on the wall that I don't think it even really registers with those that understand the situation well, that, oh yeah, I guess this is the moment where it's officially over.
Yeah, and it did feel that way with the deal last year, that it was going to be one. But there was part of me that's like, if he does have another defensive player of the year type season, then maybe you do tag him and you force him to play on that. We go through the whole dance again. But then, obviously things unfolded the way they did.
Yeah.
I don't get, and I know I shouldn't get mad about this, but of course we said, as we've gone over on this show, it's not been a surprise how it unfolded, except outside of Cincinnati, apparently, because it forced a whole nother round of the national media narratives about the team being, dumb or cheap and just letting guys get away. And it's like, how do they not see the same story that everyone else has known that this was done and, guys were moving on and it wasn't going to happen yet? They're acting like it's the end of the world again, when honestly, it's probably not the worst thing that they don't have to keep dealing with this drama for another couple of years.
Yeah, well, the drama is partially their own, is the Bengals' fault. They created the drama by not paying him or just trading him. It was this all goes back to, they're late to respond, but they're rightfully responding, because it all just goes back to all of last year's stuff. With not trading him or extending him, just be definitive one way or the other, and going through everything that they did. And then, because you did take the chance that he would walk without getting anything for him, and they didn't. They could have traded him at the deadline and didn't. They could have, for what? Who knows? And they clearly thought that maybe they could get him back to play, and they would not out of it, and Trey could be a part of something, and that ended up not at all being the case. They had multiple times where they could have moved on and got something for him, and this being the last possible one, and they didn't. So I understand that reaction of, how did they end up getting nothing for this guy? And that's true. They do have to wear that. It's part of how they botched it. And
now we're behind Treys of our lives. Are you going to miss it? Is there a part of you that's going to miss seeing Trey at training camp in the hat, just holding court and saying crazy stuff? And
I will not really miss that part.
Watch.
It was plenty. He did give us a lot of content, and I appreciate that. I did love him going out with one last final salvo, one last glorious nugget, and that was in his goodbye post, having Nickelback as the song that went with it, in the most Trey thing ever. Just fantastic. It just kind of makes me only want to speak about him and Nickelback lyrics going forward. And that's why I'd never used the Nickelback meme generator before, and I pulled it out for this one. Look at this photograph. I had to do it. And we'll always have that, you know. We'll
you know what
always
though?
have Treys of our
Like,
lives.
good on you for kind of getting that together, because that was a banger of a tweet. That's a good meme.
Thank you.
You know, you really
you.
came through, and a lot of people think, you know, oh, guys of your age, they're not going to be on top of the meme game, and here you are, shocking everybody with a solid one on the way out.
I'm glad to know that doing anything relatively interesting is just shocking for everyone. But I'm out here trying. At least I put the effort forth. All right,
you did it.
All right. So what else we got going on here right now?
What do you got your eye on?
Well, I mean, this feels like this is sort of like when we get to the draft, because the Bengals season was just over for so long. And we've been talking forever about how important free agency is. And we've had now 2 months plus to essentially analyze what they need to do. And we know that they're going to attack free agency as a big part of their plan to fix his defense. This is what it feels like when they don't make the playoffs and you've been talking about the draft for 4 months.
Yeah,
that's what it feels. But now we're finally there. Like, we're on the brink of it. But it has that, can we please get to Monday at noon already feel for me right now, where we've just done it so much. Like, we've done every version of who the free agent fits are, the mock off-season sheets, what would you pay, how much, what are they going to do, where, like, what are the paths to screw it up. Like, we have just done it all. I've had the final free agent fit story is up now, so people can go read that at The Athletic, which is just ranking the most realistic. It wasn't the best, wasn't, you know, these are the best guys available. It was knowing what they know, knowing who the players available are, knowing how the Bengals are looking to approach this free agency, who the most likely players are for them to add. So if you have time and want to go look through that, it's kind of a little bit of a look back to the 20 through 22 free agency seasons, where they had success doing it a certain way. A lot of these mid-tier free agents with a splash at the top each time, whether it was Reeder or Hendrickson or I guess La'el Collins was kind of a little bit in terms of where he was ranked. Splash at the top, and then some mid-tier guys. You know, what would that look like this year? And I think we were able to kind of pinpoint a decent view of what that could be.
Is there any kind of desire on your part as a sports reporter this time of year to get into the eyeball emoji game and really start doing that for engagement, and just like, whoa, just heard about a big trade, you know, eyeballs, and get a bunch of pointless engagement on
No, that? I don't like that. Well, I will say
it is everywhere.
I have eyeball. I will do eyeball on something crazy that happens every once in a while. I mean, it has to be pretty massive, like just blow you away stuff. And I always regret it. I'm always like, why? I hate the eyeball emoji. I am if something is stirring, and I know something's coming, but it's hard to pin down exactly yet. I like the hold on to your butts meme from Jurassic Park. That's always been my favorite when something's coming. And so if you see that from me, know that there's something happening, but we haven't totally pinned down the timing or exact nature of what it is yet. And I'm saying it's happening. But that's as much as I'll do. The rest of it, I just try to, report.
I love that everybody this time of year has like 4 or 5 inside sources that they just never tap into at any point during the season or any other time during the year. But during this 1 week, all of a sudden they are experts and they've got sources, they've got emojis. And then so many people buy into this and think it's real. And they're like, oh my gosh, there is a trade coming. And then whatever happens, you know, it's not even going to be Bengals related, but DJ Moore gets traded for a 2nd-round pick, and they're like, aha, see, my eyeball emoji thing was right. I said that there was going to be something happening today, and here it was.
There's always engagement to be had out there, Mark. There's always engagement to be had out there somewhere. So it can happen for anyone if you use your eyeball emojis correctly.
I don't think that we're going to get to be part of any of those giant trades, though, and that's what kind of bums me out because it does seem fun.
Yeah, it does not. I mean, does not appear that way. Although if they went out there and did what Buffalo did and took on salary and gave up a second-round pick for a 29-year-old DJ Moore, you don't want to be a part of those trades.
No, you don't. That was weird, right?
It's a bad trade for. I mean, the Bills are desperate for receiver. I get that. There's a connection to Joe Brady with DJ Moore when he was in Carolina, and cool. It's just a lot to give up for a guy that we haven't really seen be a guy in a while and who's getting older, and you're giving up a second-round pick in a draft where you get a hell of a young receiver in the second round. Don't love that. But the Bills are just they're desperate. I mean, they're desperate to try to get weapons to Josh Allen, and teams do crazy stuff this time of year. It's just your teams are going for it. You'd much rather be the Rams who traded for Trent McDuffie this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Had a clear need, the biggest weakness on their team. F them picks, throwing away the first rounder again, but they have 2 first rounders, so they can do what they want with them.
Yep.
This is what we talked about. When we talked about the Bengals maybe making a trade, that this would be a year that maybe the most value you would get out of your first round pick would be acquiring a player because there's not as many blue chip players in this draft. This is kind of an example of that. I mean, the Rams used a later pick in the first round where you weren't going to normally get a blue player there anyway. But still, to be making that move, it's very Ramsey, but it's also a smart allocation of that resource to fill your biggest need. You're willing to pay. He's the best corner that you could sign in free agency if you were trying to sign beyond that. I mean, he's an all-pro type player at your biggest weakness for the equivalent of a late first-round pick. I mean, yeah, that's a move that you make versus what the Bills did, which I think leaves you feeling a little emptier.
I don't know that I necessarily get the Kansas City side of it as much, but from their standpoint now, does this help us? Because I've been worried about them taking Bain or Downs, and now it feels like Kansas City has to take either an offensive lineman or a corner, right? Like,
sure,
it's the most logical spot.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you get to 9 now and Bain's on the board, and so is Delane, or if they like one of the other corners, and they really like one of the other corners, yeah, it could be they go with the corner instead because they have now a big need there. Yeah, I mean, that can certainly impact that, where maybe there's another side of them at 9 overall that they would let somebody like Bain or Downs slip back because they were feeling pressure to add that cornerback.
Are you ready for a few Growl Pal questions here?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
All right. And as always, keep sending those questions into the growlerpodcast at gmail.com. We got some great ones. We'll kick it off with this one. He says, first, I'd like to officially offer my condolences to you guys at the end of Treys of Our Lives. I hope you'll be able to cope with that loss. I'm currently trying to enjoy this period of optimism regarding the team before the front office inevitably does something disappointing. On that note, was there any indication that they actually tried to find a partner for a tag and trade for Trey? I'm curious if there just wasn't a market for that, or if they were just tired of dealing with them. So what do you think the story is there with the tag and trade or lack thereof?
They tried. I don't think it was we don't want to do this, we're not really looking. I think that there was an attempt there. It just wasn't going to get worked out.
It doesn't happen a lot.
It does not happen a lot. It does not happen a lot. We don't even see a lot of tags. I mean, a lot of guys just get extended before they get to this point.
Yeah.
Now we've seen less tags, period, much less tags and trades, just by the nature of guys are extending people, the cap's going up. Like, you can afford people more often. We're not seeing this lever used as much. So that's part of it. And also I kept saying it, like, and I don't know if people didn't want to hear it or understand that, like, the motivation of Trey Hendrickson's camp was to get to free agency. That is the advantage of them. That's how he gets paid the most money. That's how he has the choice to pick his future and whatever fits best for him. So they were motivated to make that happen. They were not motivated to help the Bengals get something on the way out. And in fact, if there was probably any motivation, it was probably the motivation to assure the Bengals didn't get something on the way out when you consider how everything went down between these two sides. And let's just not overlook that factor in this. That's part of it. Was that the only part? No, there was lots of other stuff that goes into it. But inevitably, you need cooperation. And they've never had cooperation, those two sides. It just has not gone well. They don't like each other. And so the idea that this was all of a sudden going to be a kumbaya, let's get a deal done for everyone, was just never going to be the case.
I think I know how you're going to answer this, but it is the last Trey email that we got, and we're not going to be getting these going forward. But this guy is like, this Growl Pal is arguing a little bit differently. He's like, couldn't you argue that they did right by Trey? They gave him a pay raise last year when they didn't necessarily have to. They didn't want to sign a long-term to an aging player with a risky injury, and they didn't want to tag him, so he was stuck with another one-year deal. So they let him go to free agency so he could get his bag. Do you think they did right by Trey Hendrickson at the end? You're not.
They
buying
did
that
right
spin?
to him.
It's good spin,
They
though.
did right to him by giving him the raise when they didn't have to. So I think in that way they did do right by him. But that's fine, but it's sort of a half measure. I mean, it's not really you're not really doing right. He just wanted a long-term deal with security, and you knew you weren't going to give it to him. So really doing right would be trading him to somewhere that would do that for him. They don't owe him that. They didn't have, like, the teams don't owe it to the player to go and do right so they can go get their money the way that they want it. You know, especially when you're offering the guy $29 million.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking about chump change there. We've talked ad nauseum about what they should have done, but like, I think they could have done right by him by just being like, we're either going to give you the full extension or trade you to somebody that will, which is where we were last January of 25 with him on Pat McAfee. Like, that's how long, that part's been in it. But so I do like
really. The spin. I like it that it's like, well, you can't find a tag and trade. That's us doing right by you. You go ahead. We're not even going to try and do it, Trey, because you deserve to go get paid.
Yeah, no, there was no, I don't think Trey's feelings had anything to do with any of this. They were just trying to find a way to get something else out of their product.
All right, this next one is from Paul C. He says, Paul, sorry to subject you to this after enduring James Rapine in Indy, but I was consuming a lot of analysis after the Texans traded for David Montgomery, and the narrative that there's a bit of a swing of importance back to running back with so many teams playing too high, which the Bengals certainly see a lot of. To be clear, I'd much rather have Caleb Downs, Reuben Bain, Sonny Styles, David Bailey, but if all of them are gone and Jeremiyah Love is still there, is there no scenario you'd do that? Instead, you'd reach for Woods or take Shamar 2.0 and Falk. I understand it's borderline negligence to not take a defensive player at 10, but if all those top guys are gone, adding a running back that seems to be considered truly elite on a rookie contract that has the potential to be in the Gibbs mold would be an incredible add, would it not?
So you're right. James and I did have many long conversations about this in Indy, and they were fun. They were spirited debates. I would say I'm never going to be a running back guy I'm just not. I don't care who it is. And Jeremiyah Love is, by some people's view, the best running back in this draft and one of the best ones
ever.
We've seen. Like in the Gibbs range, like all that's great.
Better.
It's great. I'm just never gonna be that. I just don't believe in that. I don't believe in the value of it here. I don't believe in you just see so many good to great running backs that you find later. You have one right now in Chase Brown that has developed a great chemistry with Joe Burrow and is a great player. You have so many needs on defense. Jesus, just get your defense right. Give it players to then use it not just on offense, but on an offensive position that you already have a great player at that is maybe the least valuable on your entire offensive I get the idea that with the 2 high shells, that's fine. You're not going to sell me that running back suddenly more valuable to the point that I'm taking a running back in the top 10. I understand the argument. I'm just never going to be that guy, and definitely not with this team in this moment in time. This team at this moment in time needs defensive help, and you can't tell me they couldn't get some defensive help that would be significant at 10. I mean, if everyone is gone, okay, maybe we're having different conversations. By the way, this seems pretty moot because I don't think Jeremiyah Love's getting out of anywhere near top to be anywhere near number 10. Like, he's going to be gone.
If he was there and the Bengals took him, do you think Al Golden would just walk out on this team at that point? Just be like, I can't handle this. You're giving me nothing here. Look at all these needs that we have, and I'm getting Jeremiyah Love. What are we doing here?
I mean, it would be a talker. That's for sure. It would be a talking point.
He's got holes up and down.
I'm not going to be sold on that. And this is not disrespectful to Jeremiyah Love at all.
Oh, he's great. Yes. I'm a Notre Dame guy.
Great player. Awesome. Like, he looks to be a great player. I just don't know that he helps you win enough games. Like, when you have what you currently have on offense, you just have to send all of your resources into this defense right now. That's if they were living in the lap of luxury, and they just felt like this roster was full and brimming with talent, old and young, and set for the future. All right, we could start having that conversation. I'm just not there, and I'm just never really going to be there with a running back. I'm never going to be a guy who's behind any running back early in a draft. I'm just not. I don't believe in it.
I mean, I'm just looking at some of these draft picks like Chris Jenkins and McKinley Jackson, some of these high picks that were just set on fire. Like, we're due for a hit on defense eventually. You can't turn away from it now. We're due for one of these guys to work out.
Yeah.
This next one, he says, greetings, guys. Just watched the Reisner press conference. Love all the positives he had to say about the organization. My question is, does it ever feel like the Bengals front office has a Jekyll and Hyde personality when it comes to athletes in different money tiers? We have lower tier cost guys who speak so highly of the front office, like Dalton did or Ted Karras. Then you have higher tier guys over the years like Jonah, Trey, or even Jamar, where you see or hear that frustration with the front office due to the lack of communication or lowball offers. Why is there such a difference in experiences based on the apparent cost of the player?
I would point out the last few words that were used in that question. The cost of the player. The Bengals act a little bit differently when the money gets up into the 20s and the 30s and the 40s and the 55s than they do when it's in the 6. You know, I think they're willing to set a market and find their value in players, and they're going to fight specifically hard when you're talking about their bigger contract guys. Like, they don't want to feel like they're wasting money on that. And they don't really want to feel like they're wasting money on anything. But I think they do see value in certain guys at lower level. And I just think there's sometimes the more average guy maybe has a little bit more appreciation for this place because they can't go anywhere. And maybe they do feel valued and appreciated here. They like the culture. Like, there's a lot of reasons why people have liked it here. They like playing. They feel like they have a chance to win. There's a quarterback. Like, they feel like they get treated right. I mean, everybody, there's plenty of mid-level guys that have not felt appreciated here and have left on bad terms. The same way there's been expensive guys that have haggled and then signed and love it here, or haggled and left to much dismay to their dismay. Like, I just feel like at every level there's been we focus a lot on certain ones. And a lot of times we focus a lot on the ones that are the big, expensive blow-ups that involve trade requests and holdouts and hat watches.
And I get sort of the genesis of this question because it is so many fans have certain opinions about the front office. So when they hear a guy like Reisner just saying so many great things about all of those guys, it's a little disjointing, I think, for fans that are following along. And an NFL team has a lot more of those lower tier guys and mid tier guys than you do your high profile guys. Those guys aren't all happy with the front office and ownership. We saw that in the NFLPA grades. They got pretty terrible rankings. So it's not like they're all super thrilled with them, even if that's what they're saying on the day that they sign that contract.
Yeah. I mean, everybody feels like they have a worth that they feel like they should get and don't want it to feel like they're having to haggle over everything and want to feel valued and rewarded. And it doesn't often go that way. And I think that's the case a lot of places, but here it does tend to seem like it is it's extra harsh, and so but then, the same way we talked about this, you mentioned the grades, but like we talked about this last week, it's like people were offended to hear that players like the coaching staff, right? Like,
yeah, like they were
players, a lot of players really do like it here. They like the way it operates here compared to other places. And you find a place that you feel like fits you, and there's value in that, and you appreciate that. And you're happy at your work, and that means a lot. So I just think that, that's part of it. Like certain guys find that they like the way it fits here. And then there's like, Sheldon Rankins never mashed with him. Like Sheldon Rankins wasn't a fit with the Bengals. The Bengals weren't a fit with him. But there's some guys that Dalton Reisner, it was. Everything came together nicely. I don't think it's necessarily about tiers or money necessarily. It's just that's the way it goes, man. So and when you win, everybody's happy, and they haven't won, and so those are going to be more obvious.
And I think that is an important point because it's not really just is it the front office acting this way with this guy or that way with that guy. But when you see these press conferences, these guys are happy to be back with the coaches that they like and the teammates that they like. And that stuff isn't front office stuff. That's just guys that want to stay with certain people. I thought the craziest thing I heard in that entire press conference was the one when he was talking about Ted Karras and just talking about how, like, I've never looked up to anybody other than Jesus Christ until Ted Karras. That's a pretty lofty group right there. Yeah. Jesus and Ted, like, I respect no man except for the Savior, my Savior of the world here, and then my coworker. Like those are two kind of very different positions in your life, maybe. So, man, that is some high praise right there.
Yeah, Ted's got to be feeling pretty great. I mean,
no pressure, Ted. Don't let him down.
What I've heard about hanging out with Ted is it sounds like he's turned water into wine more than a few times with some people. So I'm in for the next Ted outing. We can test that theory.
All right, let's pull up this next one. Okay, so this is we talked about trades and we talked about some of that stuff, but this is one that really kind of piqued my interest too. He says the defensive interior is obviously the most critical area to address this offseason, but the draft is lacking blue chip prospects there. It's pretty slim pickings for anybody who fails to win the JFM lottery. And even then, this isn't Milton Williams we're talking about. So shouldn't Duke Tobin be looking harder for possible trade partners? He might not land a stud, but he could at least provide a deeper group that Al Golden can then mix and match from.
Well, I mean, this is specifically a defensive tackle question. And, because when you talk about the edge group in the draft and in free agency, it's very deep. So, there's ways to go about that. And that's why we've mentioned some of the guys that are more hybrid players on the edge that could help you inside and help you get by for a year. Because there's just not a lot of options out there at defensive tackle. But you are right. And that's why we have talked about if you're going to pull the big move, it feels like it would be for a defensive tackle if you could find a way to do it. That's why we talked about, along with T. Higgins, Jeffrey Simmons. That's why we talk about guys like, could you find a way to pry Dexter Lawrence out of New York? You're looking for any way possible. Those guys, those teams don't want to give those guys up because they see what everybody else does. Yeah. There's not answers out there. Like there's not. In some years there are, and it exposes when you didn't go into one of the deepest defensive tackle drafts that we've seen in a long time last year. And you instead took Demetrius Knight and Barrett Carter and went in on the linebackers in a thin linebacker class. It's just those things. When this stuff happens, when you have years where it's thin somewhere, it really exposes times that you didn't take advantage of that position when you had opportunities to. And last year is the prime example when everybody was screaming pass rushing defensive tackle. Everybody was screaming, look how deep this draft is at defensive tackle. And they came away with none. They doubled back down on BJ Hill and Chris Jenkins, and they signed a run stuffing nose and TJ Slayton. Like, that error is not a 1-year error. That is a multi-year error, because stuff like this happens now where you're up against it and trying to find creative ways to fill the space when it just isn't readily available. And so, yeah, yes, you should be looking to trade, but guys aren't really looking to give up the stars right now, because
everybody wants a pass rushing defensive tackle. The reason that there aren't any good options in free agency is the reason that you probably can't pull off a trade for one, because you can't give those guys up. It's not like getting DJ Moore just randomly for a 2nd round pick, but like, it's a lot easier to get a receiver at this point than, getting one of these game changing pass rushing defensive tackles. Like, no one's giving those guys up.
Yeah. And making an aggressive move to try to get a trade sounds great. It's got to go both ways, and you're going to have to give up a lot, and it would mean sacrificing.
I don't know. Yeah. Like,
a lot of other stuff.
Who are you giving up in this? Like, it's going to have to be a pretty good player and that pick, right? Like, it's going to be somebody you don't want to give up.
I mean, we're talking in imagine like hypotheticals here. I don't even know. I mean, yeah, you're talking 1st round pick, plural, probably. If you're talking about a real guy, probably, and then you got to pay that player.
Yeah.
So, that the money that could go elsewhere doesn't. Obviously, there's other stuff they could do. They could be like all the rest of the teams this week that have been restructuring their quarterbacks. And are, obviously the Bengals have not done that, much to everyone's dismay. But so, yeah, there's ways around it, but there is a trade-off in that.
Quick ambush question here. This one's from Bruce. He says, it was nice to see Jay back, and I enjoyed the discussion on the Dalton Reisner re-signing. You said the whole building wanted him back, and I was curious if the floor or the ceiling or the wall was more vocal about wanting him. Seriously, why does every reporter in town call it, quote unquote, the building when referring to the team? Why not the team or the organization or the club or the Bengals? Anything but the building. From Bruce. Man, he is very passionate about this cause. And I can't, it's just so funny to me that he sat down at his computer and was like, this is my biggest gripe during free agency time with the draft coming up. It's just about how they talk about the building.
Yeah. This is just a sign that there has been too much time between the end of the season and the start of free agency. We just need something to happen, because if we're breaking down the use of the building, I just feel like it's a way of specifying that it's like the front office, the coaches, the scouts, the players, the clubhouse people. I mean, yeah, you could say the organization, but I feel like the organization, if I'm thinking, like, if we're going to do this, let's have this conversation. If I'm going to say the organization, I think that makes me think of just the front office more so. Like, that leans more towards the front office than anybody. If I'm going to say the Bengals, I don't think that's like, what part of the Bengals? Like, what is that? The Bengals wanted him back. That's too generic. To me, it's a little too generic. The team, everyone, you could say everyone, but I guess that's also, I just feel like it's a way of saying everybody that works at that place wants this one thing. And yeah, I get it. This is like when people give a hard time to someone that's talking about an injury or the injury report and says like he's got a knee, because that's how it gets referred to generically in slang. Oh, he's got a knee. I got an elbow. Yeah. Right? Like, okay. Yeah. a knee injury. All right.
It's
fine.
I don't want to be too harsh on this either, because I don't want to discourage anybody from emailing their creative complaints about your work to us. Like, I'm always open for that and discussing those. But in this specific case, this has got to be an old guy, right? Like, to have this particular complaint. Bruce is not a young man's name. I don't know a lot of like 25-year-old Bruces, right? Like, this is probably somebody, I'm guessing, late 60s, early 70s. Somebody still cool enough to listen to podcasts. So cool 60s, but this is not a young man's complaint right here.
Do you ever, we always have fun. You go through the list of names in your kids' classes and stuff like that. And you can see a lot of the trends were, and like how parents got creative with a kid's name, like how they spelled it. Is that Bryson with 4 R's, right? Like, you never know, like what you see. Can't tell you the last time I saw Bruce on that around the elementary school class lists. Not gonna lie.
It'd be kind of cool. I think we should have a comeback for Bruce. Like,
bring it back.
Bruce. Like, I would like him on my soccer team. He's probably a tough guy.
Yeah, he feels like he definitely would be the tough guy that's been like hitting the sleds out back since he was 5 years old.
Yeah, when you have a kid that has just a name from a different era, it does sort of shock you a little bit. Like, if you ever meet a 7-year-old Walter, like, it's going to throw you off a little bit. You're going to be like, what is this kid? You're going to respect him, though. You will respect him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we appreciate you, Bruce. We appreciate everybody that sent in emails to the growlerpodcast@gmail.com. Growler bet this week was back. That's the biggest thing. We have
the Growler bet is back. Jay's back. Growler bet's back. Everything's back.
What was it this week?
This week, so we have done this one in the past. I like this one. This is, you send in your submission to the growlerpodcast@gmail.com of the time of the first major Bengals outside free agent agreement being reported. So the first time Ian Rappaport or Adam Schefter says the Bengals had an agreement with Leo Chenal, right? And the time of that, if you can hit the exact time, if you pick Monday, it's got to be within a 10-minute buffer. If you pick Tuesday, you get a 20-minute buffer, and Wednesday you get a 30-minute buffer. So whoever is in that range and hits that number, you would be the winner of the Bengals Growler bet. And I think we deemed it graders worthy. Going to be a grader shipper involved in that one, because everybody loves getting graders on your front porch.
Absolutely. Growl Pal Spotlight this week. We've talked about this before. But we got free throws for kids.
It's coming up.
Based nonprofit, their big annual charity free throw shooting event to support the families at Cincinnati Children's Hospital and the Ronald McDonald House. You can go to www.ftfk.org to sign up. The event is March 21st at Lakota West High School, and there is a Growl Pal team.
Yes.
I don't know if anyone signed up for it yet. I don't know. I haven't checked. So you Growl Pals better get going, better work on your technique and your form, and really rep us well in this March Madness event.
It's a great cause. And if you get out there and you join the Growl Pal team, whoever hits the most free throws on the Growl Pal team is, again, clearly graders worthy. And so we are putting that out there. If you join that and you support this cause, that's the ultimate way to say thank you for doing that. If you hit the most free throws, graders worthy for you as well on that. I mean, we're just trying to pay it forward and say thank you in the right way.
And we don't even know if anyone signed up, so it could be just you. The competition could be you. All here. You just show up, hit some free throws, and you're going to walk away with some ice cream.
Yeah, ftfk.org. I tried.
It's hard to say.
It's hard to say. It's a lot of letters.
We had a raccoon story this week, right?
Yeah. There was a raccoon story like 2 weeks ago, and it wasn't just any raccoon story, Mark. It was local. The raccoon story came to us. I thought that we should do an emergency pod. I had that thought. Like, this felt So on brand for us. We got it sent to us by a bunch of people. We know people over there. That's right. A raccoon was found, quote, secretly living at local 12 to escape the cold. How about that? In a news station in Cincinnati, a local 12, they suspected they had a stowaway living inside their office, but were stunned to find the culprit was a wily raccoon seeking an escape from the frigid temperatures. Let's see. They weren't aware of the pest's identity for a while. Chief meteorologist John Gum, shout out John Gum, said, but they weren't entirely surprised when one of the newsroom's engineers encountered the furry bandit during a late night shift. That's not what you want working the late night shift.
Absolutely not.
You're just going around and you're like, trying to get some paperwork done, and all of a sudden you look down when you're trying to throw a paper into the wastebasket and you see a raccoon. Not good. Says we suspected someone had broken into local 12 and had been secretly living inside the station to escape the cold winter weather. Now we have an ID on the perpetrator. And then they sent the video of the raccoon just looking at him sitting in the garbage can.
I don't know if that says anything good about local television and where it's at in 2026, if they can have a raccoon sneak into their station for an undetermined amount of days and just hanging out there before he finally gets caught. If this was 1998, that raccoon gets caught within the first hour of being in the station. But I still will do like morning TV sometimes in certain cities, and I've done it in Cincinnati, and the people that work there are great. It's just sort of a bummer when you go into these big stations and they're like 85% empty. You see all the empty cubicles and stuff. You're like, man, this used to mean something.
Yeah, no, that was like that when I worked at the Inquirer. The last few years, they've since moved out of where they were because they didn't need all the space anymore.
Yeah,
it was really sad up there because you have a whole giant half of this massive newsroom was just like chairs on top, stacked on top of each other, on top of tables and empty spaces and rooms that used to occupy employees. And now who knows, maybe there's a raccoon in there like there was at Channel 12.
It does sound like a cartoon where you've got to like shoo away a raccoon out of your studio before you can do your broadcast, because that's the state of local media these days.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, ratings bonanza if they put the raccoon on air. I don't know how.
Add him to the staff. Let him live there.
Put him on. Like, I mean, you got to feel like he's just, even if you just had him like hanging out in a cage in the background during your weather report, like I'm saying, just so you can see him. Like, it's like when they bring in the therapy dog. It's the therapy raccoon. It's like a therapy dog, but with much more biting and frightening sounds.
Now you're absolutely like this is a good idea. And what you've done on this show over 2 years is just throw out good ideas to many different groups, a lot to the Bengals, punts for pizzas, the Ted Karras hot tub show. Like, you've thrown out good content ideas. Having a raccoon in the studio for local television broadcasts, that's up there, man. Yeah. Maybe you get Cowboy Cody in the mix, and now you're telling me you wouldn't watch that every single night just for their duo appearance at that point? Like, we're locked in.
Cowboy Cody, who is just a rogue reporter out finding and making news simultaneously, is ratings gold. I don't know why anybody hasn't hired that guy yet.
Cowboy Cody on the street throwing it back to the studio and the raccoon to do the weather. Like, that's just a match made in heaven right there. Hire him.
Now maybe this is what we do when we have special guests popping in on the free agency show next week. We can just have the raccoon pop in and put him in one of the squares on the screen.
Yeah, maybe Charlie has to chug 2 beers if we see any raccoons on our shows next week. That's just an extra little. So that way, if you or Jay can go catch one out in the wild, and then all of a sudden you hold it up, and then Charlie's going to be slamming beers on the show.
I'm holding a live raccoon by its neck.
Yeah, just to make Charlie
free
drink.
Agency has gone terribly awry again.
Yeah, we start bringing wild animals into the show. It's going to be, hopefully it's not like last year. It's going to be fun. There's going to be lots of news. We're going to have a lot of fun people stopping by. I'm looking forward to it. I'm also looking forward to going to St. Paul, Minnesota this weekend for stand-up comedy at the Laugh Camp. Tickets are on sale now. Syracuse Funny Bone, March 13th and 14th. Fayetteville, North Carolina, March 19th. Williamsburg, Virginia, March 20th. I'll be at the Bob and Tom opening day show in Cincy the morning of March 26th. Obviously, everyone's going to be locked in for opening day that day. And then I'll be at the Liberty Funny Bone March 27th and 28th. And then coming through the Carolinas in April. All those are on my website, markshalafu.com.
All right. Make sure we check that out. What do you got for Dad Life?
Dad life is kind of a tough one for me this week because my oldest daughter is turning 13 next week. And there's just something mental about that change of like having a teenager for the first time that makes you feel like an old dad. And she was getting things ready for her party. And like she asked if she could get stuff together. I said, sure, go ahead. I thought she was going to put up decorations. And she came back 2 minutes later and she was like, do we have a cocktail shaker? I was like, what are you doing? Like, what is this? What prep are you doing for this party? And she was like, I just want there to be some like fun mocktails that we could serve to everybody. I'm like, mocktails? This is with your cousins and your aunts and uncles. Like, what are you talking about? And I was ready for certain signs of getting older, like getting the first phone, which is going to happen here soon. I was not ready for that leap from lemonade stand to bartender happening that fast. So,
I mean, or is she going to go by mixologist, proper next level, like let your kids dream. Okay.
I'm going to have her making me old fashions in a Snoopy cup here soon. So we'll see. We'll see.
I love that.
What do you got going
on? This is kind of interesting. So we had international night at the school, where each classroom ends up kind of turned into a country, and there's lots of information about that country. They'll be playing music from there. Someone will have made some kind of food that's native to there, and the little kids have a little passport where they go around and get it stamped and show how many countries they've been to. It's a great event. Like, it's really cool. It's a cool way for, kids to be involved and like the student council. Like, my daughter's on student council. She was kind of helping with like the planning of it and stuff. It's like cool for them to all have something that they can help put together. Like, everything about it's great, but we don't really, there's no reason to talk about politics at a school event necessarily, but like when we go around the corner and we have to walk into the Iran room, it's like,
yeah, I didn't think about that.
Everyone's kind of like, what do we,
how do we handle this one?
How do we just, can we just get in and out of here real quick? And it was lovely. Like, it was just like every other one, but it's like, what do we do and say here?
Yeah, that's a tough one. You can't be like, all right, kids, let's get out of here. Let's go back to the Ukraine room for some fun and games to really feel better about things.
You know what country I loved? Switzerland. It was great. Even in this environment.
Yeah,
even at the school,
stamp
I knew it was safe. It was like a little safe space. They had these lovely little chocolates, and we got to hang out, and we didn't have to worry about any of the stuff going on in any of the countries. Shout out to the Swiss.
Yeah, it's so much more laid back. You stop by the Venezuela room and somebody's getting yanked out of it all of a sudden. It's like, we don't need this kind of energy. Although I'm sure the rest of the, Iran room was great. And I'm sure that the presentation was awesome. But I do understand the angst of, having to deal with that.
Just angst. Disappoint. I couldn't find the Italy room. That's what I was looking for. I was like, can I go to Italy? Come on, just some pizzas, some happiness, the good. I wanted to go to Italy and I couldn't find Italy, but that's all right because
it's the boot. It's so easy to find.
It was not easy to find, and maybe theirs wasn't one. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you just went down the bummer wing of the school, I guess, and just got all the more controversial countries.
That's all right. It was okay. I had a great time. It was a great event. And thanks to everybody that helped put it on.
And thanks to everybody that listened to this show, and we'll be listening to Who Dey Nights next week. We're psyched.
Can't wait. Monday through Thursday, starting at 8:00 on the YouTube channel. Make sure you're tuning in. We will be talking through everything that goes down in free agency, and who knows, we might be talking live while stuff does go down. You can watch me have to write a 250-word reaction while live on YouTube. That would be just great viewership for everybody.
I guess I didn't think about that. You guys are all covering the team. So if there was news, that's just 3 boxes of you guys doing reporter stuff and then me just hanging out, chilling with the people in the comments, just going back and forth.
I know you can give me a tight 15 while we crank out a story.
Yeah, I'll start getting into the notebook here and just doing some riffs and some new jokes up here, working it out with the comment section and really kind of developing some material if we need to.
I don't see why not. I think it's the perfect thing. If we have to do that, we have to do that. That's the beauty of the live show.
Exactly.
That's what happens. That's what happens. Okay?
We don't know what's going to happen, and you get to be a part of it because we do monitor the chat pretty well, and we take questions, we take comments. So definitely make plans to hang out with us next week.
Looking forward to it. All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching and listening, and we will talk to you next time. Have a good one.